Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
NASA Communications, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Chelsea Bayarte with NASA Communications. How do you hear me?
Well, hello, Chelsea. We have you loud and clear. How us?
Butch, that's awesome. I hear you loud and clear as well. Thank you both so much for taking the time. We have a lot of people on the phone who are very excited to talk to you, so let's jump right in. Butch and Suni, I'll toss it back to you first so you can kick us off with some brief opening remarks.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Chelsea. So, yeah, it's been quite an evolution over the last 3 months. We've been involved from the beginning through all the processes of assessing our spacecraft, Calypso, and it was trying at times. There were some tough times all the way through. You certainly, as the commander and the PLT of your spacecraft, you don't want to see it go off without you, but that's where we wound up. And through all the process, most of the news we heard, as we would hear things over the news waves and the different means that we have to get information up here, that 80% of the time you'd hear Suni and Butch, Butch and Suni, Suni and Butch, Butch and Suni. And I just want everybody to know how much we appreciate that. The concern for us specifically is very heartwarming and, like I said, much appreciated. Every time I talk to someone that we're praying for you. There's prayers coming up for me and Suni both. Street signs, people we don't even know across the nation. Suni and Butch, we're praying for you. Come on back. All those things. And I can tell you, it really goes a long way. And we so much appreciate it. And even the opportunity to share a couple of thoughts now. I'm not sure how much we can share that you don't already know. But I know you've got some questions prepared, and we're ready to answer as best we can.
All right, thanks so much, Butch. Let's begin the Q&A. Media on the phone, if you'd like to ask our NASA astronauts a question, please press *1 on your phone to enter our question queue. We have several people dialed in today, and I want to get to as many of you as I can, so please try to ask just one question. But we'll begin now with Gina Sinceri with ABC News.
Good afternoon. So you're on an extended mission. You've done these before, but what are the ups and downs for you as you look forward to the rest of the mission?
Well, Suni Williams has just been named the commander of the space station. She'll take over in a couple of weeks. I'm going to let her start off with answering that question.
So I think, what we look forward to is being here and being part of the crew that's here. We've been part of Expedition 71. They're a great bunch of people, and we've tried to just jump in and do whatever we can. We're waiting for Nick and Alex to get up here as part of Expedition 72 once we hand over. We just got Don Pettit and Alexei and Yvonne here, so I mean, we're here with our friends. I think that's really a key part of being on the International Space Station and actually just doing the work. So that's, I think the up part is we're here with our friends. We've got a ride home. And, we're looking forward to the next couple months and doing a lot of stuff for the International Space Station.
We'll go now to Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Butch and Suni, when you launched, you figured you'd be back home in Houston to vote on Election Day. Have you requested your absentee ballots yet so you can vote from space? If you could elaborate on this, and what else are you missing on a personal note?
I sent down my request for a ballot today, as a matter of fact, and they should get it to us in a couple of weeks. And absolutely, yes, it's a very important role that we all play as citizens is to be included in those elections, and NASA makes it very easy for us to do that. So we're excited about that opportunity.
And Marcia, same here. It's a very important duty that we have as citizens, and looking forward to being able to vote from space, which is pretty cool. You asked what we miss, right? Of course, the things that we always miss, our families. I miss my 2 dogs. I miss my friends. But you know what? Like Butch said, there are so many people on Earth that are sending us messages, and it makes you feel just right at home with everybody when we're able to have those conversations with our friends and family at home. So I know they understand. I know it's tough on them as well as, being away from home, of course. But everybody understands, and everybody's cheering for us to get back with Crew 9.
Our next question will be with Tom Costello with NBC News.
Hi, Butch and Suni. Nice to see you both. Butch, I can't believe how fast your hair has grown in the few months you've been up there on station. Can I ask you this question? I'm just wondering, recognizing that you're both team players and veteran NASA astronauts, do you feel let down by Boeing and Starliner and the fact that this is clearly not something you planned for your life?
Let down? Absolutely not. Never entered my mind. I don't think Suni's either until you mentioned it. It's a fair question. I get it. I can tell you, I thought a lot about this press conference and what I might say, what I wanted to convey. And there's no way to convey every single piece of information that needs to be said to understand a majority of the questions that we might get asked. But I will say this. Suni's got this shirt on. It's got that NASA meatball, we call it, on it. And that represents something that we stand for as an agency. We go beyond. We do things that are out of the ordinary. We send humans to space. And, yeah, we're here today on the space station. Even today, this operation, this is not easy. NASA does a great job. The people at NASA do a great job of making a lot of things look easy, sending probes beyond the edge of our solar system, going and getting sample from asteroids, humans in space. And it's a very risky business, and things do not always turn out the way you want. Before we launched, we said, we're going to find things. Yep. That is the nature of test. Every single test flight, especially a first flight of a spacecraft or an aircraft that has ever occurred, has found issues. That's things that you just cannot think about. 90% of our training is preparing for the unexpected. And sometimes the actual unexpected goes beyond what you even think that could happen. And that's just the way it goes sometimes, because we are pushing the edges of the envelope in everything that we do. And it is not easy. And I'm grateful for the organization. I'm grateful for the people that are passionate about what they do, that we can make it look easy. We can go outside this International Space Station and do an EVA, a spacewalk, and things go off many times without a hitch, because we're making it look easy by dedicated efforts, monumental efforts on the ground and in space here to make it look that way. And it's like I said, it's not an easy thing to do, but that's not why we do it. Maybe we do it because it's hard, and pushing the envelope into any envelope is very difficult, regardless of where you're at. And in space is certainly the case.
We'll take our next question now from Stephen Clark with Ars Technica.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. Stephen Clark from Ars Technica. Butch, you mentioned this in your introduction for a moment, but both of you are veterans of the Navy captains. I just wanted to hear your thoughts from each of you on seeing your ship leave without you. What was that like, and were you staying up late to watch the landing the other day?
Well, we actually had a couple duties while we were getting ready to let Starliner depart. There's some things that the International Space Station has to get ready and be prepared and make sure that it understands that a visiting vehicle has undocked and it goes back to its normal regime of operating. So actually we were tasked with that. We were up in the cupola and we were watching our spaceship fly away at that point in time. So I think it was good. We had some extra activities. Of course, we're very knowledgeable about Starliner, so it was obvious, what was happening at each moment. We were talking to our control team, people, friends of ours that we know. We know how much time and effort that they have put into this spacecraft, the excellent and precision activities that they're doing down on the ground. It was nice to have that, one-on-one conversation over the space to ground as Starliner was leaving, just knowing that she was in their hands and they were going to do the best that they could to get her back home. Other thoughts about seeing it leave, like you mentioned, we're both Navy. We've both been on deployments. We're not surprised when deployments gets changed. I mean, our families extended. Our families are used to that as well. So that's not a humongous surprise. I think, like Butch said, this is test, I think before we even flew, we had an interview with a lot of you and mentioned the same thing, that a test flight means that we're probably going to find some stuff. We've done as much as we can to look at the envelope that we're going to operate in, but this is the first time that we've had humans in space in Starliner, and we did find stuff, and we made the right decisions, and we're here, and that's how things go in this business. Like Butch said, it's risky, and that's how it goes in the business.
We'll go to Joey Roulette with Reuters.
Hey, thank you. For both of you, you both have had, for the past few years, you've played a very kind of intimate role in Starliner's development, which, of course, has not been easy for Boeing for a number of reasons. And I know failures is common in spacecraft testing, but looking back, what could Boeing have done differently in Starliner's development?
That is a very interesting and a very fair question. I'll say this. There is not enough time right now to go into all the details to make any answer I think that I could give make complete sense. I could say a few things and it would be taken the wrong way, a way that I didn't mean it to be. So for questions like that, all that will play out in the coming months. We've got lessons learned that we will go through. We will have discussions. We will be involved with those discussions, and things that need to change will change. Obviously, when you have an issues like we've had, there's some changes that need to be made. Boeing's on board with that. We're all on board with that. And I can tell you, when you push the edge of the envelope again and you do things with spacecraft that have never been done before, just like Starliner, you're going to find some things. And in this case, we found some things that we just could not get comfortable with putting us back in the Starliner when we had other options. There's many cases in the past where there have not been other options. We were very fortunate that we have the space station and that we had the option to stay and we had the option to come back a different way if that's what the data showed. I think the data could have gotten there. We could have gotten to the point, I believe, where we could have returned on Starliner, but we just simply ran out of time because there's other tests that need to be done and other assessments that need to be done, and had we had a little more time, then we could have done it. And why didn't we take the time? Well, it's the International Space Station. We've got 7 people, 7 USOS crew on board, 12 total, and we've been 6 on board for quite some time. And to staff the space station with 6 people, we've done it well, I think, over the last couple of months, but it's not prepared for that long term. And so we had to make some decisions on a timeline. And the timeline came to the point to where we had to decide, is Starliner coming back with us or without us? And we just did not have enough time to get to the end of that runway where we could say that we were going to come back with it. I think we'd have gotten there, but we just ran out of time.
We'll take our question now from Jonathan Seri with Fox News.
Thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Butch, you mentioned at the beginning of this news conference you appreciated all the prayers. You've been very forthcoming about your faith throughout this mission. I'm wondering how your faith has helped you throughout this mission and whether there are any ways in which this mission has informed or influenced your faith.
I tell you, I really appreciate that question as well. I don't want to take advantage of my position to do things and say things that are outside the realm of what should be done and said in any forum. But I will say this. If you really want to know how I feel about all of this, 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10. You can look that up, and it'll kind of tell the story. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10.
I'll take a question from Mark Strassman with CBS News.
Great to talk to you again. Suni, I have one for you and then one for Butch. But Suni, slight variation on you trained for a round trip on Starliner, and that's not how it worked out. So how do you feel about coming home on SpaceX? And Butch, you went up for, you thought, roughly 8 days. It's going to be more than 8 months. Talk a little bit about the psychological adjustment for you and your family.
That's a good question.
So it's interesting questions. When Butch and I were preparing for this flight, we obviously had talked about it a lot, and we had talked about it being a test flight, and knowing that it was scheduled for 8 days, there could be other things that would keep us here a little bit longer. We've been training for not only Starliner, but also the International Space Station for a number of years. Both of us had been up here before, so we have a little bit of experience, and so we could dive right into the International Space Station training. So we are fully qualified crew members, both qualified in spacewalking, EVAs, and robotics for visiting vehicles. So the transition was not that hard. You know, both of us are mechanically inclined, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. There's a lot of things to do on the space station when it comes to, you know, maintenance and repair. Maybe we didn't get all of the science experiments, you know, training before we left, because that was not really initially on the plate. But we're getting some OJT on-the-job training while we're up here. So we're blending right into the increment, particularly this 172, this increment 72, because we'll be 2 of the U.S. crew members that are involved there. So I think the transition has been pretty smooth. It wasn't what we expected. However, we were prepared, and, you know, the NASA, like Butch mentioned, has got us ready to go for that aspect. So flying home on SpaceX on a Dragon, you know, there's been a Dragon here the whole time we've been here, of course, with Crew 8 that came up on the Dragon. So we've had the opportunity to go in the spacecraft, look at it, and work with our other crew members to get it ready to be our, you know, emergency escape vehicle if we have to use it. And then, you know, of course, we're getting some training on the Crew 9 vehicle as it comes up. We're excited to fly in 2 different spacecraft. I mean, we're testers. That's what we do. You know, we look at different aircraft, spacecraft, whatever, evaluate it, and that's a pretty unique opportunity. I think, like you know, this was not the very first option. We wanted to take Starliner to the completion and land it back on land at home. But, you know, you have to turn the page and look at the next opportunity and, you know, do good for the agency and the country, and we'll come back with some evaluations of both spacecraft, and I think we're pretty fortunate for that.
I think I remember your question.
Sorry, I talked too much.
No, it's good. It's good. Let me answer your question like this. So Suni wore a NASA shirt to represent NASA and who we are with, right? I wore my Naval Aviator Pilot Astronaut Wings shirt. That's both of us. I'm NASA, she's Navy Pilot Astronaut Wings as well. These wings represent honor, courage, and commitment. NASA, our core values within the astronaut corps at Flight Operations Directorate, Johnson Space Center, we have core values that we stand by. And there's many of those. Many of those are biblical principles. I can sum it up in one word, and that's resiliency. We are tasked, and we learn, and we train to handle all types of situations. And this is not just at NASA. This is something Suni and I have done for an entire career. And this is something that, you know, she doesn't have children, but she has some nieces and nephews, and I know she instills in them the same thing I instilled in my daughters, my wife and I, and that is to be resilient. You have to go with what the good Lord gives you, whatever that is, whatever is allowed, whatever comes by. And, you know, I don't look back and say, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I look back and say, going forward, how can I fix? What can we do to make this better? And that's our mindset right now. I don't look back and say, oh, my, this or that. I don't. Yeah. And that's not, you know, it's more this resiliency. It's not what we do at NASA. I think it's more who we are. And we deal with all types of difficulties in all types of situations. And it builds a great deal of fortitude, and it builds a great deal of character, not just within NASA, but all of the contractors, because like I said earlier, this is not an easy business. So we go with it. 8 days, it was more than 8 days, but 8 days is a number that keeps getting said. It was going to be longer than that. But 8 days to 8 months or 9 months or 10 months, whatever it is, we're going to do the very best job we can do every single day. Because that's what the folks that do this type of job have to do. You have to have that mindset because it is not an easy business, like I said.
Thank you both. We'll take our next question from Jeff Faust with Space News.
Hey, good afternoon. We had heard in some earlier briefings from NASA officials that you were able on some occasions to call in from station to some of the meetings they were having about Starliner. What was your impression from your unique vantage point of how those meetings went and how your input was brought into their discussions about what to do with Starliner? Thanks.
Thorough, all-encompassing, great character that we would hear in the room when there were disagreements, and there are. I mean, any kind of discussion like this, there's going to be disagreements. It was handled with the utmost compassion, which is good, passionate about their points, but with the utmost character, respecting each other and each other's opinion, going through it all. We did mostly listening and taking it all in because we did have a say in how all this would turn out. Thankfully, our managers and our leaders allowed that we would be included, and they wanted us included, and for that we were of course grateful. Ultimately, like I said, though, the decision was made that was made. As soon as it was made, we're on board, right? And it doesn't matter if I agreed or disagreed. It doesn't matter. The decision that we are given is what we're going to march to. Again, like I said, because that's not what we do. That's who we are.
Hey, Jeff, I might add just a couple things. I was really impressed. There were a lot of opinions. There was a lot of data coming in at different times and a lot of people trying to digest that data and understand it and take it forward. I think it was really impressive for our leadership and our management to take the time and listen to everybody's opinion and really try to understand where all of that was going. That's really a benefit of this organization. We have a lot of people from many different backgrounds. You're seeing 2 Navy test pilots here, but we have scientists, we have engineers, we have doctors, the whole gamut for putting humans in space. And it takes a lot of people to get on board to have us come up to space, to the space station, and have us come home. And all of those people have a say. They have a direct input. And our leadership really opened the door and really was open to understanding everybody's opinion. And that's really impressive, and it's a way a good organization works, where everybody's opinion is funneled up to their specific directorates and then taken into account by the upper management. So we have to just understand that and be very thankful we have an organization that does that.
We'll take a question now from Kristen Fisher with CNN.
Hi there, this is Kristen Fisher, and we are actually live on CNN right now. So I might ask a question that has already been asked before, but slightly differently, so bear with me. Butch and Suni, thank you so much for doing this. And I know you both have done long-duration missions before. You've trained for every contingency. But, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio, who was in a similar situation as the two of you, he said that he still had a few hard days as he kind of wrapped his head around going from a 6-month mission to a 12-month mission. So I'm just curious how that transition has been for the two of you mentally when you learned that you'd be going from a days-long mission to an 8-month mission. Thank you.
Well, like I said earlier, there's one thing that I try not to fret over. Maybe fret's the right word. Things that I can't control, I'm not gonna fret over it. I mean, there's no benefit to it at all. Yep. So my transition was, maybe it wasn't instantaneous, but it was pretty close. Yeah. If I can't affect it, if there's nothing we can do, there's nothing we can do. So we march forward, carry out the plan of the day, as we used to say back in my AOCS days, and shortly thereafter. Aviation Officer Candidate School, by the way, that's what that means. And it was very short-lived, if at all, for me. Yeah. It's all.
Yeah. Kristen, I just add two thoughts to that. For us, I think that's Butch hit the nail on the head. You sort of turn to and just take on the next activity of the day, and that's what we do. We're professionals. I think I have to say, though, in the back of my mind, there's folks on the ground who had some plans, right? Like my family, and so to spend some time with my mom. And I think I was fretting more about that, like the things that we had sort of all talked about and planned for this fall and this winter. And I think I was a little bit nervous, to be honest with you, to say, like, okay, I'm not coming home for it. But you know what? Like we both mentioned in the very beginning, everybody, is on board and is supporting us while we're up here. So I think that fret went away real quick, as well as the idea of, like, hey, we're here and we're going to be the best crewmates that we can be for our crewmates up here.
That's great to hear, you guys. Our next question now will come from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, Butch and Suni. Thank you so much for doing this. Earlier, you talked about watching Starliner go home. I'm just curious if you can go more into the emotions you were feeling when it ultimately returned safely. Was there any disappointment that you weren't on it?
To be honest with you, I was so happy it got home with no problems. We saw it fly away, and then we all got up. The whole crew got up at 3 in the morning, and we had it up on our iPads watching it land. We know all those people who are part of the landing recovery team, the LRT, who are there in the desert, and we were, of course, fingers crossed, as well as Mission Control. We know all of those folks who are bringing it back home, the entry team. We could hear their voices. We could hear them communicating with each other. We got to see the video from some of our aircraft operating directorate folks who are out there doing IR video of the chutes opening. All of that was a good sense of relief, and we were actually really excited for our team, our bigger team, who got that spacecraft home, and we're actually really super proud of them for having it land pretty much bullseye there in the desert.
Yeah, I was up here. It's been several years ago, but I was here when, if you recall, the Cygnus launched out of Wallops Island, and it blew up like a couple of seconds after it left the launch pad. It was coming here, bringing cargo. And my immediate thought was just the people that involved in the program, and it was just heartfelt for them, because this is a pretty, tight-knit organizations that we, do this space flight, human space flight, all types of space flight, and we felt for them, or we did when that happened. Well, I can tell you the thrill was equally the opposite side of the spectrum when Starliner landed safely. It was wonderful that it made it back. And the fact that we weren't on it didn't even come into mind at all. It was never like, oh, we shouldn't. No, not at all. The decision was made. Like I said, we flipped that bit. We go forward with the plan of the day, and we hope the best for all aspects of all space flight endeavors, regardless of where they are, regardless of what's taking place.
We'll take our next question now from Avery Gingrich with WBIR Knoxville.
Hi, guys. I know both of you have plenty of experience up in space, but can you describe what's going on with your bodies right now as you continue to adjust, and how you're preparing for the months ahead?
What's going on with our bodies? Well, I asked the question, and I was told I have the second best hair in the scene. So that's for as far as that goes. Yeah, I have grown my hair a little bit longer than I've ever grown it, actually since college probably, just because. Why not? I don't know. Very fortunate. I think Suni and I both are very fortunate the way the good Lord wired us. Transitioning to space and transitioning back is very easy for us, and it was here as well. It seems like we've been here before, and we have, but it's comfortable. Of course, one thing about space flight which is wonderful, your joints don't ache because there's no pressure on them. So all the aches and pains you may feel on a just daily basis are not prevalent in space, which is actually quite nice.
I will say one. I wouldn't say unfortunate. One thing, both Butch and I also like working out, so that's a good thing, because when the mission was shorter, I sort of had a small timeline that I was going to really crank it out on the exercise equipment here, because of course you lose bone density and muscle mass. But my mind had a transition now to 8 months, and how I'm going to keep that motivation up. Again, good thing both of us like to work out. He's an early morning. He's up at like 4:30 in the morning to work out. I'm a little more about 6 a.m. But every day, I mean, it's every day that you have to do that. Every day we're on a cardiovascular exercise, either the bike or the treadmill. Every day we're on the advanced resistive exercise device called ARED, which allows us to do deadlifts and squats and allows us to keep our bone density in our hips and our feet. But that means we're going to have to do this for a little bit longer time. I had seen Frank stay up here for a long time and some other folks and thought about like what I would want to do, because I like mixing it up a little bit. So we're working with our strength and conditioning guys to add in a couple more exercise and stuff to keep it going. You don't want to lose it, because every day that you don't work out, you're gonna lose some bone density. So we have to keep it up, and that's a way of life.
And not to slight anyone else on the call, don't take this wrong, but it is very nice to talk to you from God's country.
Well, I think we're going to go to a different part of the country here with Laura Casa with WHDH Boston.
Hey, thank you so much. Suni, this is for you. So many of your friends in Massachusetts are, of course, following your journey closely, cheering you on. What do you say to your Massachusetts family who are watching you from here on Earth?
Hey, we had one press conference earlier when it was like still midst of baseball season. I think I said go Sox. So this time I have to say go Pats. Again, now thank you for the call from God's country. I know that there's some really nice crispy apples right now that are getting picked off a tree. I was just talking to my family about that and some other folks that it would be nice if somebody put a New England apple in a spacecraft that was coming up here, because you got the prettiest place on Earth with the fall coming up. We'll take a look at it from up here and try to take some pictures for you guys, but I know the Boston crowd is cheering us on, so we'll find a better place to park the car next time.
All right, our next question comes from Ida with the New York Times.
Hi, thank you so much for taking this question. The one thing that's been on my mind is that with the challenges, the challenge of leaving family behind is one thing, but I wonder if there's like a silver lining for you with this like extended stay. And I'm not talking about all the great science you're going to do on the maintenance and all the work, but just this kind of home away from home. And I think maybe, Suni, I heard your spouse say something about how this is like your happy place. If you could kind of candidly talk about that, about sort of getting this extra time that you didn't plan for and what that's like.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll answer this with respect to the family part. Trying times, and this is, my daughter's. I'm going to miss most of her senior year in high school. My youngest daughter, and my oldest daughter's a sophomore at East Texas Baptist University, and I wasn't able to be with her during the summer. But like I said earlier, we've tried to teach them the principles that are important, and let them understand that trials, however you judge what a trial might be, makes you stronger. And in that respect, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that, it's played out the way it has. We're here, we're safe, we're in a place that we're both familiar with and doing things that we actually enjoy doing. And but for them, it is different, and they're going to learn from this, and they're going to grow from this, and like they never could have in any other situation. And for that, I am grateful.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. My husband has said that. My mom has said it before, too. This is my happy place. I love being up here in space. It's just fun. Every day you do something that's work, quote unquote. You can do it upside down. You can do it sideways. So it adds a little different perspective. And, about staying up here longer, one of the things I was sort of regretting about a short duration flight is I wasn't going to be able to share it with a lot of people. One of the things I like to do up here is sort of write like a little recap of the week and send it down to people so they can see what fun we're having and what kind of work we're doing up here, because it is so much different than being on Earth, and I think it opens up that door of making you think a little bit differently, just perspective. And I have that opportunity. I think I was on week 12 of writing a journal to send down to folks, and I'm really feel very fortunate about that, being able to send it to people, and they can understand what we're doing up here and see that, we're living in a remote area, but we're doing world-class science as well as, living with other people, for the betterment of so much, and, being able to have a perspective out the window as well as a perspective upside down or sideways is something that I hope we can pass on to the rest of humanity.
All right, our next question is with Aishwarya Kumar with ESPN.
Hi, thank you guys so much for taking the time. My question is for Suni, and it's a little philosophical, so apologies for that. But what do you feel in your body, your mind, and your soul when you run in space, and how does it compare to running on Earth?
So interesting question. I was mentioning a lot of the physical activity that we do up here. It's a little harder, a little different, but fun at the same time. When I'm on Earth and I'm running or moving, there's a lot of things going on in your mind, but you can't get away from being on Earth. I love to take my dogs for a walk early in the morning, so you can, hear the birds singing and hear the day start. Here, that's really not the activity. It's sort of funny, though, that I just thinking about it, when I first got up here, I saw something fly by and I thought it was like a bug. But then I realized, oh yeah, we're up in space. That's not going to happen. So your mindset sort of changes. But then again, like I was just mentioning in the question beforehand, your perspective changes, and being able to be on the lifting device and looking right out the cupola window above you and seeing our planet go by, and then taking the moment to go and look in the window between sets, or just to have that moment to be quiet on the treadmill or whatever, it takes you to a different place, and it's very peaceful up here a lot of times. There's a lot of work that's going on, but it also gives you a time to be a little introspective, a little change your perspective on a lot of things how we do things on Earth. Like, it really is difficult for me to imagine people on Earth not getting along together. It's the one planet we have, and we should all really be happy that we're there together, because that's it. That's our place. So I think that's pretty much how I feel about that. It just changes your perspective.
I can tell you, if you're looking for a guest picker for College Game Day, give me a call. Also, I've been asked several times, yes, I do have the SEC network.
All right, well, that is all the time that we have. I want to sincerely thank you, Butch and Suni, for participating today. We can't wait to follow along with the rest of your mission. Goodbye, good night, and thank you again.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.